Our next update is from Kurt Schneider at the Achievement Foundation. Now, Kurt has served on the Achievement Foundation Board of Directors for 14 years, and he has served as chairman of that board since 2020. He was first introduced to JA when he served as a volunteer in the elementary schools in 2002 in Bethesda, Maryland. Why do I have problems with that? Again, if I had bourbon, I could do that. Bethesda, Maryland. And has been devoted to the organization ever since. His three now grown children each attended JA of Central Maryland's J Biztown, where their roles were that of judge, mayor, and engineer. Now, Kurt himself is a living example of junior achievement. He's a serial technology entrepreneur who owns and operates an international firm providing services in customer acquisition, BPO, and IT recruiting. He travels throughout the world as well as to support his passion for launching and sustaining women-owned African businesses and businesses in Central America. Now, probably more importantly, when not pursuing business or philanthropic endeavors, you might catch him surfing a wave in San Diego, Panama, or El Salvador. So please help me welcome, a warm J welcome, to the surfer, Kurt Schneider. Kurt, come on up.
I didn't realize that my bio pretty much stole all my thunder, so I may just shoot from the hip here, from the heart. This is a heartfelt group. I love this group. But again, as you know, my name is Kurt Schneider. I'm the board chair of the Achievement Foundation and served on it for 2 years. And I did want to thank Jack for inviting us here, the tremendous job that the organizers do, and all of you for attending. And it was great as the Achievement Foundation to be able to underwrite the investment in a lot of you people coming here today as well. I haven't actually presented here in about 5 years. Mike Hannigan had taken it over, and I really miss doing this. It's a fabulous group. I also wanted to commend this entire group, those who are here, those who are not here, Jack's leadership, for the Mackenzie Scott scholarship that you guys got, not scholarship, but donation. That is no small thing, as I know you know, but I'm a bit of an outsider, and when I had heard that, my jaw just utterly dropped. $40 million from that particular foundation is incredible. They really hold people to account. So to me and to the foundation, on behalf of the foundation, it's a true testament to the incredible work that you guys do for the communities that you serve and for society as a whole. That woman's got a lot of money to be given out, and she doesn't dole it out easily. So congratulations to you. Give yourself a round of applause. No, I'm just kidding. Don't. Let me get that. So what and who are the Achievement Foundation? Again, I'm going to go a little off the script here. It was just in a breakfast, and I know when we were at the 100th anniversary, people said, who is the Achievement Foundation? What is that? What on earth is that? Well, we've been around since 1945. We're a 501c3 charitable foundation. We dedicate ourselves to developing a better understanding of the free enterprise system by young people. The board manages a multi-million-dollar investment and meets twice a year in New York City to decide on fund allocations. Almost every dime that we do allocate does go to junior achievement. There have been some exceptions over the year. Those two, in fact, go to entrepreneurial, free market-focused enterprises, but all of it really goes to you folks. But more importantly, who are these members? There's 11 of them that were NAJAC participants in the early 60s, and they all did the company program. I've become very good friends and colleagues with these folks over the last 14 years, and every one of them will talk about that company program as having utterly changed their life. It really was the pivot point of their careers and journeys. Jim Hemack, a great example of that, Mike Hannigan, some others, that is the one thing that they carried forward with them that have really set them on a path to these illustrious careers that they had in corporate world and in entrepreneurship. Now, there's one exception to that board of directors, every one of them being a NAJAC, early 60s. I was still in my diapers in the early 60s, but aside from that, but as Jack had alluded to, I was introduced to Junior Achievement. I knew of the organization. My high school had DECA in a little farm town in Connecticut, but we didn't have Junior Achievement, but I was aware of it. So back in the early 2000s, I worked for a big publisher, a multi-zillion-dollar guy. He was all about free market, enterprise, entrepreneurship, and so forth. So he mandated that all the officers of his company would go out and volunteer in the schools for Junior Achievement. And I found out early this morning that a lot of we executive types, I was 40 years old at the time, actually preferred to have the elementary school kids as opposed to the high school. And watch what you wish for. So I had a group of first graders, and they were a rough bunch. I found this online. That probably wasn't the jacket at the time in 2001, but whoever, I'm sure they're still in here, wrote the content for the Our Families. It was brilliant, and it was a lot of fun because I would teach on my little kids at night and then go into the class the next day to make sure I didn't get torn to ribbons. But my daughter to this day, who's 27, remembers that it was Gus who drives the bus and Mr. Nash who takes out the trash. I could still picture that big image, and it was really neat because these little kids like, oh, no, I need that, I want that, the needs and the wants, the family, and that we have jobs, and that a whole community works together. So you guys really started to win my heart over at that point. But then it got even more interesting because these little kids who are now big kids, with whom I would practice this on, were, then approaching 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 years old. And we lived in Severna Park, Maryland, which is near Annapolis, which is in the JA of Central Maryland jurisdiction. Woo! Big shout out. So your BizTown had a huge influence on my kids and on me, which is why I love working with you guys now. I couldn't find all the pictures of every one of my kids. Thank God for you. My son, who was the mayor, the kid can talk, and I would have put him up here as a little 8-year-old. But this is my youngest. This is Graham Schneider. You could not read that, but his little tag said design engineer. And there he is standing before Northrop Grumman. So I thought, and I always talk to the people, it's like, well, what happens to these kids after we shape them and have an influence and that sort of thing upon them? Well, fast forward to the present, not the greatest profile. His dad's not happy with it. He's a marketing guy, so I have to get him. He's an engineer like my dad, so he can't help himself. But sorry, engineers out there. But he, it's funny. You see this in kids today. I asked Graham, like, what happened to these other kids? He wasn't exactly certain. That was back when he was 10 years old. Here he is now, 20 years old. He's at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and he is a electrical engineering student. And he wants to be a design engineer, which is exactly what he was here. But what makes his dear old dad really happy, my dad was a corporate guy. He was a commercial airline engineer for Pratt & Whitney United Technologies, and I'm a pure entrepreneur at heart. And I just don't want to see my son Graham become some, cubicle son of a guy. I'm like, Graham, you got to find an idea. You got to find an idea. We're going to commercialize it. We're going to productize it. But what he's done is he decided, I think he listened to his dad, he's going to minor in business with a focus in entrepreneurship. And then just a month ago, he goes, Dad, did you know I started up my own little business? I said, what? He goes, yeah, some rich millennials asked me if I could do some yard work for them, and I did. And then they referred me to 5 other people, and so now I get this little yard business. I'm like, what? So my point is that you guys had a good influence on him early in life, and his dad is very appreciative for that. And that's why I love giving my time and effort to what it is you guys do. So there's 3 ways. Now, again, to think about it, everybody said, what is the Achievement Foundation? I don't want to talk exact numbers, but when you're sitting on a large multi-million-dollar investment run by our capital partners, super intelligent, brilliant group of men and women, they make a lot of dividends upon that investment. It's really neat to see. And with those dividends, we then have money to allocate to our favorite cause, which is you guys and what you do. So there's 3 ways that we disperse those dividends and that capital out to junior achievement, and it's by way of student scholarships, grants, and loans. And I'm just going to talk briefly about each one of them. As many of you are aware, there's a Joseph J. Francomano Scholarship. It goes up to the top winning teams of the top 3 winning teams of the J Company of the Year program. It's paid to up to 5 members of each winning team. And we've given out $687,000 in these scholarships in the past 25 years. Just wanted to make a side comment too. I've been very, very fortunate to have been invited to be the judge at the finals in Washington, D.C. It's a stone's throw for me from where I live. And anybody who has any involvement in shaping those kids and mentoring, tutoring those kids, they are the sharpest hope. We talk about hope for the future that I have ever seen. These kids dance circles around me. I wish I had 1/10 of their business acumen back then that I did now, or I'd probably be Mark Cuban, but I'm not. But incredibly genius, and it's been really interesting for me to see over the years things move from like a hard product, I'm not gonna say a bird feeder like I think Mike Hannigan created, but you're actually starting to see it move digital, which is a credit to your guys' digital transformation as well. And it's, you know, it's just indicative of the youth, you know, where I would go up to a big booth and it would be an app. I'm like, where's your product? Like, it's right here, Mr. Schneider. It's in the phone. It's just tremendous to see. So great work to all you who do that. That's just one of the 3 ways that we give out the monies. Grants. This is really the core of what we do. For decades and decades, we would give grants out to you folks who needed, you know, additional staffing or just, you know, expansion of it into a new program or even just to sustain current operations. And that was all fine and good. But about 4 years ago, again, as I'd said, our group is comprised of 11 NAJACers, and they felt in their heart of hearts, they really wanted to see that company program come back, get its legs, and really spread and make its impact, because they felt that that was the one thing they could most hang their hat on that really, you know, changed the trajectory of their careers. So we shifted to where almost all now our grants go out to starting up or expanding company programs. And it's a 2-year grant. Year 1 is $20,000 and year 2 is $25,000. And just this year, we dispersed 9 such grants, and do the math, that's upwards of $400,000 have gone out to the company program. And in the last 25 years, since 1998, we have given out $3.5 million in Sweeney grants. Again, a lot of those weren't necessarily for the company program, but going forward, it is going towards company program startups and expansions. And then lastly, certainly not least, is loans. It's really not what we do. We are not a bank. There have been a couple of occasions in my 14-year tenure with the board where just kind of on an ad hoc basis, a particular JA may have had a financial crunch for whatever the reason may have been, and we were there. You know, think of us as like the rich old grandfather, you know, who's there in a real pinch when you really need it. I don't want to name names of where we did it, but we actually helped, I think, to sustain and allow a couple of JA areas to actually survive because of the interest-free loans that we had given away. Now, everything changed. Anybody remember about March, April, May of 2020? A little thing called COVID came around. I don't know about you guys, but that seems like 100 years ago to me, but it also seems like it's yesterday. It's crazy. And that was an unprecedented time for junior achievement, which of course then the byproduct was it was an unprecedented time for us. And as Jim and other board members will attest to, we had 3 or 4 emergency meetings. Some of my folks had to learn how to use Zoom. I had to teach them because, you know, we were in the Zoom time. It was virtual and we couldn't all meet together, otherwise we would have. And we had to make some real tough decisions that we had never made in the 70-year history of the foundation. And that was to not only use dividends, but to dip into the principal of the investment to actually, you know, immediately disperse out within a matter of months funds to you guys, because it was such an incredible uncertain time. We didn't know what was going on with PPP. We didn't know what the schools were going to do. We don't even want to talk about it. It was so traumatic. I'm triggered even mentioning it. But we were able to give out $1.7 million in funds in a matter of months. here's the cool thing. I take no credit whatsoever. The credit goes to you, and no pun intended credit. There was a little bit of trepidation that, what if some of these operations go under, or do we really know that they're going to get paid back, or, this could put a dent on our capacity to further fuel and fund, operations if we really have a bunch of bad debt. I cannot express to you the delight and how impressed I am with your guys' ethics, integrity, Jack's leadership, and your financial discipline in that it's almost all been paid back and paid back on time. It really took a load off of our minds. Incredible. And as you all well know, once you get credit once, it's easier to get it a second time. If we were a bank and you were Lendees, you guys would all have an 850 credit score. It's really impressive. So in summary, I don't want anybody to ever come up to me again and say, what is the Achievement Foundation? And if you do that, I'm going to say we're your rich old grandfather. But we don't just hand out money. There is a very rigid and disciplined process to it. There's a strict application to get these grants, and certainly for the loans as well. But that's the amount of money that we've dispersed since 1998. So we really feel like we can be making an impact for you. So how do you get this money? Show me the money, Kurt. You don't come to me. You go to Paul Brady. He is the executive director. And there's his email. There's his phone number. Great guy. Does an incredible job helping to run the operations of the foundation. And we are about to enter into where we have a program committee coming up. And what that means is that is where we sit there, 12 of us in New York City, well, actually on the phone, before we go to the board, and we evaluate every one of these grant applications for the company program. And I got to tell you, it is a bit competitive, and it gets pretty robust in our discussions, as Jim will tell you, about who should get what, and are they good in the past and history, and what's their reputation, what's going to have the biggest impact, have we given to that area, a million variables and criteria that we use to decide how we're going to disperse that. So please, in the next 3 weeks to a month, I was telling some folks at breakfast, get those applications in so it's not too late for this year, and we will be dispersing a lot of money. So, and of course, just like Linda had said, we have a LinkedIn page already, sorry. But we're on LinkedIn and we're on Facebook. It's not super active, but it's there if you want to go. We'll occasionally put things up there that are of interest to you folks. So with all that said, thank you very much. The rich old grandfathers, we like to give out money, but we're nobody's fool. We do, take it very seriously as to how we give it out. Would love to see more applicants for the company program, and love everything you do. Thanks for shaping my own kids' future, and I can't wait to come back next year. Thank you very much.
Kurt, I can't tell you how much, you talk about the loans at the beginning of COVID, and while the money was important, what you did for us as an organization is gave us some faith in the future, that we were facing an unprecedented time and we're fearful we're going to lose funders. But boy, when the Achievement Foundation stepped up, it was like, okay, we can do this. And all of you, and I do appreciate it. By the way, I do serve on the board. I recuse myself from voting on what areas get money and that sort of thing. But Kurt, your leadership of that board is refreshing. As Kurt alluded to, most of the people on that board are old guys like me that went to NAJAC, and they remember the company program. And so, one of the roles that I have on that board is keeping them up to date with all the exciting things that you're doing.